if you could just reflect a little bit on the experience of making movies, a movie like Boyhood, and then working in a bigger budget kind of, you know.
Yeah, like Training Day or something
Training
like that.
Day, or I mean in a more.
You know, I've had these weird experiences in my life of making really slow to the ground movies, and one of my first big experiences was Dead Poets Society. You know, I remember that Peter Weir. You know, it's all now seen. George worked with me on Dead Poets Society. We've been working together that long, and that Peter Weir, who had directed Witness and he had directed Picnic at Hanging Rock, and he was brilliant. Gallipoli, Last Wave, amazing movies, you know. He wanted to do this big scene where the end where I'm supposed to stand on the desk and say, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and Robin's supposed to say, "Thank you, boys," and the movie ends. And so Peter had built into the set these speakers, right? And he didn't want to record any sound. We were going to dub the sound later, and he was cranking Morricone's score to the Mission, dun 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 dun. You know, it fills your eyes up with tears the second you hear it. You know, I mean, so he wanted, because there were a lot of extras in the scene. You know, and he wanted all these boys to be flushed, and he was kind of creating a, you know, that feeling of Storm and Drum. I mean, he wanted to make it just very important feeling, and it was an amazing education for a 18-year-old to sit there, because there were so many things happening at one time. This music was pulsing, and this is my big scene, right? So I was really nervous, and the guys from Disney, the execs from Disney, were standing there going, and Peter said, "Oh, excuse me, turn on the music. Turn on the music. What does this mean? What does this mean?" I says, "Well, Peter, it's the 11th hour," and Peter said, "This is one of those moments. Like, we all live our life and we're nice to each other and everything like that, but this is one of those moments where you have to decide who you work for. Because if this scene doesn't work, we should have never come here. We should have never done this. We should have never bothered. And if you're trying to tell me that I should hurry, then you should go fuck yourself. Right? Or fire me," which is, I think, what he didn't use the F word like I did. He didn't take it. He said, "You should fire me, because I don't know how to make a good movie, but I know how to make a bad one. And what I'm trying to do is something I don't know how to do." You know? And if you're either, and the guy's like, "Well, come on." No, not come on. I mean it. Like, if we want to be just like every other movie, there's definitely one way we can do it, which is like all point at each other and go like this and say it's going to be over in half an hour. Or we can try to do something special, right? Well, that's all very interesting. That's one dynamic that's happening. The other dynamic is their beautiful, sensitive Robin Williams is with sheets of tears pouring down his face. "Thank you, boys." And Peter's going, "Now, Robin, here's the deal. If you're crying, the boys are going to be worried about you. And I need you to be worried about them." You know? And obviously, here's what's going to happen is Mr. Keating is going to close this door, and he's going to walk to the parking lot, and he's going to get in his car, and he's going to turn his car, and he's going to burst out sobbing. But not now. Right now, he wants them to sit down because he doesn't want them to get in trouble, you know? And then there's the other problem of all these, like, extras who feel like, when's lunch, you know? I mean, it's like, and it was this amazing experience that I had the privilege, and Norman Lloyd, who was there, I don't know how, to me he seemed 90.
Norman Lloyd is turning 100 in November.
Well, okay, so Seymour,
yep.
Shut up, okay? You're like 15 years old. And Norman Lloyd, Seymour, if you don't know, was a member of the Mercury Theater Company, right? And he seemed ancient to me. Okay, I was 18. I don't know. He was probably 76 or something like that. It was like, whoa, this is a very old person. And Norman came up to me, and he said, I was joking around on set because it was a little scene where the students are supposed to be walking through the hallways, and this will come as a giant surprise to my wife, but I was being a real jerk. And You know how you can hit like somebody's books and they all fall down from the back? Do you guys remember that? Well,
Kinda. Yeah.
Kinda. Oh, anyway, whatever. I was joking around.
Yeah.
Right? And Norman came up to me.
Sure.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You
okay,
kind of,
yeah.
they're carrying their books and they're walking. You just tip them and they all fall out. And Norman came up to me and he said, "You have no idea what's happening right now, do you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You're having one of the most amazing experiences of your life." And I'd spent a bunch of time with him, and we liked each other. He said, "It's not the right time to be joking. You know? You're having an amazing, life-changing experience, and I forgive you for not understanding because you have nothing to compare it to." I was like, "What is he saying?" And he started talking. He said, "You know, I worked with Orson Welles. You know, we were part of the Mercury Theater Company, and I thought I was going to have dozens of these experiences. I thought I was going to meet 1 million people like Orson Welles. You know? And instead, I was having one magical experience that could light my whole life and give me things to work towards. You know, and you're having one of those right now, and instead you kind of want to make it small. You know? And I think about Norman Lloyd all the time. It's funny, Norman Lloyd spoke very beautifully when Robin died. And it's amazing Norman Lloyd's still alive and Robin isn't, you know. It's weird how life works like that. But the point being is that one of my first experiences was a big budget. This is a Disney movie. But had a very independent spirit at the helm. Peter Weir. Peter Weir is the guy who cast Norman Lloyd. Peter Weir was building this whole ship inside with Disney's money. Harder and harder to do.
Yeah, it is. It's getting very difficult.